Hi there, it's Nicole here for Simon Says Stamp today, and I've got a set of 5 cards. These are encouragement cards that feature quite a few new Simon Says Stamp products from recent releases, as well as some Nuvo Mousse. And this is amazing, and it's going to create fabulous backgrounds with the Simon Says Stamp Folk Dance Stencil. I wanted to create these cards not only for others, because I think we all need encouragement at different times, but because they tend to help me when I'm going through a hard time as well. By creating things for somebody else, it really kind of helps reinforce that feeling of taking care of myself and encouragement. These are the products I'm going to be using. The Folk Dance Stencil, I've already got some white cardstock trimmed to 5 1/4 by 4 inches. This is the heavyweight Neenah cardstock, 110-pound weight. And then I've got my Nuvo embellishment mousses. I just grabbed an assortment. I originally kind of started with the greens and the blues, and I decided to pull in the pink. Whoops, I just dropped it. I'm so sorry for that. I really just kind of grabbed whatever kind of floated my fancy. I didn't have an idea when I started how many cards I was going to make. In fact, I really didn't know what I was going to do with these backgrounds. I just wanted to make some pretty backgrounds with the mousse, and then from there, the card kind of evolved. This is the beautiful cornflower blue. I like to tape down my stencil to kind of help it not move. Once you start working with the Nuvo Mousse, it's really not going to go anywhere unless you're really aggressive with it. And then I'm just scraping it off of the top here of my stencil. In fact, I probably could have scraped it off more. You'll see that when I do a couple more. And then wiping the rest back into my container, pulling that stencil up, and look at the amazing detail of that background. One thing about when you're working with mousse or embossing paste, any of this kind of thing, you're going to want to go clean your stencil and your palette knife, any of your tools immediately. Otherwise, it's going to cake on there. And this Nuvo Mousse really doesn't take that long to dry, especially with a thin coat. Now, I am going with a lot thinner coat here than I did with the cornflower blue. This is I believe it's called citrus green. That's what it is. It's really pretty. I kind of think it's a beautiful spring green. It's really thick, at least mine is when I first take it out of the jar. But as I start working with it, I think kind of as it warms up and you start really moving it around with your palette knife, it spreads really nice. I purposely tried to get a pretty thin coat because I wanted this to dry quickly and I wanted it to air dry. If you want to speed that up, you can definitely hit it with a heat tool and it's not going to change the properties of the mousse. I just prefer to let mine air dry if at all possible. In fact, I did my backgrounds and then I let mine sit overnight. I did these later in the day. I was done with work for the day, so I just came back to them the next day. This is a great project to work on maybe later in the day or whenever. Set it aside, work on something else, come back to it, and go ahead and put these together. This color here is Old Navy. Then I have the Pacific Teal and also a pink color, which I dropped my container and it rolled across the floor, so I don't have the color right here. It is listed below. I apologize for that. Beautiful colors. Really fun, and it's a great way to kind of use up, or not use up, but use lots of things, try out something new. So I've done my backgrounds and they've completely dried. You can see them all here. Now I'm taking fun foam that I have trimmed down to fit my word dies. This is for the sentiment. I've already kind of pre-prepped everything. I am putting Stick-It adhesive on both sides of a piece of fun foam, running this through my die cutting machine. I use the Spellbinders Platinum machine and I love it. I cannot say enough great things about this machine. By putting it through your die cutting machine, it's going to make sure that adhesive really adheres to the fun foam. Then I'm taking off one side of the backing paper, placing my glitter cardstock from Simon Says Stamp on that side, and running it through my die cutting machine with the Hello Beautiful Greetings These are fairly new dies from Simon Says Stamp. There's also the word gorgeous, so if you wanted to switch that out or switch it up and maybe do a combination of both, you could do that as well. Next, I have greetings from the You Got This stamp set. This has been out for a little while now, and it is probably my favorite greeting stamp set, as far as it really has a ton of sentiments that will work for lots of different occasions, whether it be encouragement, thinking of you, prayers, hugs, lots and lots of things in this. And so I picked 5 sayings. I'm going to stamp them on some smooth white cardstock and trim them into strips using a tonic guillotine trimmer. The last thing I pre-did off camera to save myself some time and save you guys some boring time watching me die cut is I die cut the Simon Says Stamp Streaming Heart die from white glitter cardstock 5 times for all 5 of my cards. This is going to give my die cut sentiment and my stamped phrase strip kind of a place, just kind of a great place to put them on my card, if that makes sense, so they're not just floating out there in the middle of nowhere. It will help ground them. That's what I'm looking for. So I've kind of got each of my little sets of stuff here. I did keep my white glitter cardstock from where I die cut the streaming heart because otherwise it's really hard to put this heart back together, I found. So this is going to serve as a little guide. I've got my background, I've got my heart pieces, and I've got some Ranger Multi-Matte Medium, and I'm going to start gluing these down in place using the die cut area as my guide. So I'm just simply replacing all these little pieces inside here. You can see I've slightly offset my heart. It's going to hang off the edge of my Nuvo Mousse background, and I can trim that up once it's dry. What I like to do is put all my pieces in there, lift up kind of this outer piece really carefully, hold those down while I do that, and then I'm going to put something heavy like some acrylic blocks on top of this for just a few minutes while the glue dries so that it's nice and flat, it doesn't roll up, it stays put. So I'm going to show you that one more time. I'm going to go ahead and glue this off the left hand side of my background, kind of off center and off the side. Again, just using this as a great little guide. You can't go wrong this way. It perfectly lines up. Little line of glue with my Ranger Multi-Matte Medium. Replacing all of these. I think they would look awesome if you did them in different colors and just kind of mixed and matched if you didn't want to do all white for every one of these. With the colors of cardstock I'm doing on top of this, I really felt like I needed to stick to one color to not distract from my sentiments. But if you use this die for other things, I could see it in rainbow color. I love this die, and I think you guys do too, because I think Simon's having a hard time keeping this one in stock. So it's really awesome. I am going to let all my backgrounds dry completely. This is very much assembly line style card making. I'm going to trim up the ends of all of my greeting strips here. And then I'm going to put some 1/8 inch score tape on the back of each of these. Whenever I'm working with strips, sentiment strips like this, I really like to either adhere them with some score tape or sometimes I will use foam adhesive if I want it popped up. In this case, I'm going to use score tape. I do not want to pop it up. I don't want it to interfere with the dimension of the Fun Foam die cut greeting. So I'm just going to prep all the backs of these all at once. And now I'm really ready to put it all together. I've got my strips ready. I've got my hearts adhered to the backgrounds. Now all I need are my die cut greetings popped out. And I save this to do as I'm putting each background together because you need to pick it out of the Fun Foam. It does like to stick a little bit. It's got stick it on both sides, remember, so now it's a dimensional sticker greeting. I'm going to pop out all those little inside pieces, and I'm going to do this for both words. I like to work on a nonstick craft mat when I'm doing this because you can go ahead and lay your pieces down on it, and they're not going to stick to it like they would paper, or maybe even the craft mat. that I have underneath, I found that they stick to it sometimes too, but this Easy Clean Craft Mat, they will not stick to it permanently, so it's fantastic. Now I'm starting with the longer of the two words, which is beautiful, and I'm going to center that. And I'm just going to carefully adhere that to my card. I'm not going to press it down too much yet until I get the word hello and make sure that they're going to fit together. And then I'm going to go ahead and press those down really good. If anything isn't sticking, you can always take a little dab of liquid glue to hold it down. I really didn't have any trouble except for the card I made off camera. That I handled a little too much, so probably some oil from my fingers got on the adhesive. That's the only one I had trouble with. The rest I didn't have to. The dot for the eye is so super teeny. I go ahead and put a little Ranger Multi-Matte Medium adhesive down and then put the dot for that into that so I don't have to worry about it popping off, because otherwise I think it's not going to stay put. I'll peel off the backing paper from the sentiment strip, put that in place, and then trim off the edge of the streaming heart. And finally, we're going to finish with a little bit of embellishment. These are the Honeybee Stamps Rainbow Rhinestone Mix. I love these. I think they kind of pick up whatever color you put them on. And I'm going to kind of follow the design. I'm going to put a couple on the heart. Up here by the word hello, I'll put one down below the sentiment strip, but otherwise I really tried to follow the design. So there's lots of little flower centers, there's some little dots and things in that Nuvo Mousse background, and I'm going to just put dabs of Ranger Multi-Matte Medium there and go ahead and put my rhinestones in place. This will add some nice sparkle and a nice little embellishment to all of the cards. I'm going to do the same thing for all the other 4 cards that I'm creating. We're going to put this sentiment down, we're going to put the greeting strip in place, and then finish with a scattering of rhinestones. So pretty. Once we have that, we're going to take each of the backgrounds, grab a white top fold card base. I like to use a Teflon bone folder to get a nice crease, and then put some adhesive on the card base and take the background to that. I started with a little bit smaller than A2 sized background. It's 5 1/4 by 4 inches, so it has a nice white border all the way around the finished card design. Here is a look at all 5 of the finished cards. The colors of glitter cardstock I'm using, the colors of Nuvo Mousse. They are all listed and linked below the video here and on my blog. Thanks for joining me today for this set of 5 cards featuring Nuvo Mousse and Simon Says Stamp stenciled backgrounds. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Simon Says stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.